Tonight we're beginning, I don't know really what I want to call it, but it has to do with looking at some events and people over the next few weeks that I think give us good indications of where we're going, what we would like to be like, things like that, and what are the things that really are the difference between the people that are further away from Jesus than John, who has his head on his chest kind of thing. So we're going to revisit a couple of stories, a couple of chapters that we've been in before, but looking at it a little bit differently. All of us are in different places, but we're all going in the same direction, I believe, which is kind of like, when I think of spiritual growth and development, discipleship, whatever word you want to use, I think of the difference between the thousands who were present with Jesus when he was feeding them, but they didn't exactly walk along the road with him. They were happy enough to attend the big rallies and enjoy the provision, but the actual walking with him was a different story. And you can see that in the scriptures. You can see the crowds that were really big, the smaller groups, the first group that he sends out, the 12 disciples. You know, there's always different places in this walk. What's in my heart is there's nobody in this room that I would consider part of the thousands, but wherever we're at in our relationship with Christ and our own spiritual growth and development, I'm looking at the mature side of it. If the crowds were discipleship 101, I'm looking at, discipleship 401, down the road after. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of years, but whatever it is, there's a growth and a development. I had read, actually in a couple different books, which is kind of funny, 3 prayers by Nikos Kazantzakis. He's a Christian guy, and he writes some pretty profound stuff, actually. But there are 3 prayers. When I look at the 3 prayers, they show to me 3 stages of discipleship, if you would. The first prayer is this: I am a bow in your hands, Lord. Draw me, lest I rot. The second one is, do not overdraw me, Lord, I shall break. And the third one is, overdraw me, Lord, and who cares if I break? And when I hear those prayers, they are different. I don't want to say levels, because I don't think of it quite like that. Stages is more the way I see it. There's a story that I guess originates with the Desert Fathers, and without going into a lot of that, the mystics of old and the way they encouraged each other, they grew in contemplative prayer and things like that. There's a story that comes out of the Desert Fathers of one younger abbot going to an older abbot, approaching him, recognizing that the older abbot is in a more mature place than the younger one. And so he approaches him with a view towards, Father, I pray, I fast, I meditate on the Word of God, I try to keep my heart pure, my thought life pure. What else should I do? And the older abbot jumps up, throws his hands heavenward, and says, why not become all flame? And again, you hear it, and I know these stories a lot of times are like, what? What he's saying to him is he's retaining the position, the view of I do this, I do that, what else can I do? And he's basically saying, get rid of I. Just become a total flame. Be totally consumed. So you're not even thinking in terms of I do this, I do that. There isn't even an I anymore. It's just one flame that's consumed before God. Got my glasses to read this poem by Margaret Halaska. It's called Covenant, and it kind of goes along with what I'm kind of beginning with tonight. The father knocks at my door, seeking a home for his son. Rent is cheap, I say. I don't want to rent. I want to buy, says God. I'm not sure I want to sell, but you might come in to look around. I think I will, says God. I might let you have a room or 2. I like it, says God. I'll take 2. You might decide to give me more someday. I can wait, says God. I'd like to give you more, but it's a bit difficult. I need some space for me. I know, says God, but I'll wait. I like what I see. Maybe I can let you have another room. I really don't need that one so much. Thanks, says God. I'll take it. I like what I see. I'd like to give you the whole house, but I'm not sure. Think on it, says God. I wouldn't put you out. Your house would be mine and my son would live in it. You'd have more space than you'd ever had before. Well, I don't understand that at all. I know, says God, but I can't tell you about that. You'll have to discover it for yourself. That can only happen if you let him have the whole house. A bit risky, I say. Yes, says God, but try me. I'm not sure. I'll let you know. I can wait, says God. I like what I see. And I think that, spiritual growth and development's a lot like that, Paul. If we're really honest with ourselves and God. That act of total surrendering, totally being his, I mean like totally, where there's no rooms that I'm reserving or anything else other than him, is very challenging. We'll actually read from Luke 24. You'll recognize right away it's the road to Emmaus. And the reason why I chose Luke 24 and John 21 is because there's kind of like a before and after. On the road to Emmaus, the two guys, or the two people, whoever they are, they haven't had a personal encounter with Jesus after his resurrection. So it's kind of like a before they've actually engaged in the resurrection. Whereas John 21 is that story we remember where they go fishing. They've had two visitations from Jesus. They've had two encounters with the resurrected Christ. So they're going fishing after the fact. So it's kind of like a before and after. Both of them have very similar, they're on the road going somewhere, whether it's to Emmaus or going fishing. But the question is, on the road, are they looking for Jesus? There's also something else that they have in common. The road to Emmaus, it says it right in the text that we're going to read. They were feeling hopeless. What happened a few days before they decided to leave Jerusalem should not have happened. Simple as that. Now I know everybody in this room can think of at least one thing in your life that you would look at and say, that just shouldn't have happened. When these guys are looking at the cross that happened, everything leading up to that cross should not happen. I'm sorry. I was there, I saw it, it should not have happened. The guys, when they're going fishing, it's not so much a hopelessness. They are in way over their heads, and they know it. This thing is like out of control now. It's shot. I mean, we used to be able to touch Jesus and walk with him. Now he's like popping in, rooms, and we didn't even recognize him in the upper room, and they're really in a kind of trying to get their heads around something. It wouldn't necessarily be hopeless, but I'm sorry, this is not the way it was supposed to go. He wasn't supposed to go to the cross and get killed, and all of a sudden we got to come to grips with what? I'm not even sure what it is. I was quite happy when he was a human being and I could see him and I knew it was him. If he walked in the room, hey, there's Jesus. Those days are over. It's done. It's history. It was never the plan to stay like that. The plan was what they were living through, but they didn't know it. So the best Peter can say is, you know what? I'm going fishing. Again, like I said, it was after the fact. They already had a word from Jesus that said, stay here. We've been in John 21 before. Stay here, and they go there. The thing is, both of them, whether it's the two on the road or whether it's Peter with the boys, they're going somewhere. They're on a road. And actually, so are we. We're on a journey. I don't know if you write it down every day. I doubt you do. Do you remember it? I doubt it. Who can remember every day of their lives and everything they do all the time? But we are on this journey, and we are going somewhere. And when we get to these two particular stories, for the mature disciple, the question is this: what do we do when something has happened that doesn't fit? The truth is that tonight we've prayed about a lot of different things and people. And would that they all, tomorrow morning, bam, every one of them was like right there. And we would go, yeah, that makes sense, because that's what our God does. There's a better chance that tomorrow they're not all going to be addressed. Everybody's not going to be healed. The bombs are not going to stop in Israel. And it shouldn't be like that. This should not be happening. With that in mind, let's go to Luke 24. Would you read verses 13 and 14? We're just going to read bits at a time. I'm going to throw out some comments, again, not for the sake of a Bible story. I hope we can identify and extract out of the situation what is helpful to us, because every one of us for the rest of our lives are going to encounter days where things happen that we don't understand and they just don't fit. Something has died, and that shouldn't be happening unless it's a cue that something is supposed to be dying in us. There's more rooms in the house that are supposed to be rented out. We're supposed to be becoming all flame. We're working towards overdraw me, Lord, and if I break, who cares? Because you're Lord. Not because I understand you're Lord, but because you are. Verses 13 and 14, would you read them?
And behold, two of them were going that very day to a village named Emmaus, which was about 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they were conversing with each other about all these things which had been taking place.
The only two things I want to pull out of that is that when it says it was the same day, it's Sunday. It's the Easter Sunday. He says it's the same day because previously in the chapter it announces it's the first day of the week. Both Luke and John present Resurrection Day as the first day of a new creation. So all things have become new. The truth is this: every day, I mean, I'm guessing that we'll probably sleep tonight, and tomorrow when we get up, it'll be a new day. I mean, it really is a new day, totally in front of us. Everything about it is a new day. When David wrote, "This is the day the Lord has made," I believe that. There is a day that unfolds before us that the Lord has already made for us to walk into and to enter into. I'm hoping that what we take out of tonight, we can actually every day get up and see the day as a new day. The first day, you know, we hear the expression, the first day of the rest of your life. It is. It actually is. We have a history, but what you've got, you're not going to go back and live yesterday. You can't go back to Friday and the cross. What you've got is today. And the question is, how am I going to walk this out? What direction am I going to walk in regardless? And these guys were told right away, they're walking towards Emmaus. And different people have different things to say about Emmaus. You know, some say, well, it was the place where there was a Roman garrison. The symbolic language of it is that, well, this didn't work. The Romans are over there. I'm going to get into the world. I'm going to do it the world's ways because the Romans, they're in charge here, you know. So I'm giving myself over to the world kind of thing. That, you know, other views, Emmaus was known for its healing spas. People would go there and they would go in the baths and they'd get healed. So it has a similar connotation to it. Where are we going for our healing? Who are we believing? However we look at it, they are definitely walking away from Jerusalem. And Jerusalem represents everything of God, the people of God, the place of God, the worship of God, everything about God. And they're not meaning to. That's the whole point of looking to, when I look at this, the way I see it, is these guys, I don't think they're consciously thinking. They're just doing it. They're walking in the wrong direction. They're not walking towards their health and wholeness. They're walking away from it, but they don't know it. Why? Because they're feeling hopeless.